Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
He has time. He's got him. Side touch is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
To perfection, expect nothing else. Do you like to make yourself a hot cup of coffee to start your day? We have both whole bean and grounded. Also great for all you iced coffee if not a hot kind of person. Even make yourself a frappe to quench your thirst. The best tasting coffee with espresso. It's only $18.99 plus taxes for a 12-ounce bag. Buy 1 to 5 bags and shipping is only $7. If you spend over $100, shipping is absolutely free.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Ken and Ken in the morning. At least we all have all 10 fingers and toes left. Correct, Ken?
Yep.
Yeah. I see Bob still has his ugly coffee mug. And we all have a victory Monday.
Rampant in this show.
And we all have a victory Monday this morning on an NFC North first division. First time I think Schefter, I think it was Schefter post. I can't remember the date, but like the 50s or something like that. Basically, the NFC North is the first division since like the 1950s or something like that to have.
It was 1970.
1970, okay. To have 4 teams with at least 4 wins. That's how good this division is right now.
Broski, my name is right in the title. That's why it's called Ken and Ken in the morning. I just go by the bearded Packer fan. That way we can differentiate between each other.
Not that it's that hard to tell. One looks good. One.
Yeah, I know you got me with the glorious beard. And then you got Ken with his snow-capped freaking
snow cap.
That's right, baby. That's right, those sexy old people. So, all right. So hey, let's get the games. First, let's just go with the biggest news of the night coming out of the North, and that is Detroit. Hutch is done for the year. Broken tibia, or was it tibia? It was one
tibia.
Broken tibia, required emergency surgery last night in Dallas. Couldn't even get him home. He's done. Done for the year.
JB had just brought up that the surgery went very well. There's no nerve damage, ligament damage. It was a nice, clean break.
Yeah, so he might miss part of next year, too. Might miss part of next year out of this too. It just depends on the rehab, the healing. 6 to 8 months. I mean, 8 months. You should be back, but
first major injury. First major injury. This tests everybody. First one.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So here, I'll move the mic to a different location for you, there, Orlando. So yeah, let's hope Hutch is okay. It always sucks when someone goes down. We've seen some pretty brutal injuries in the North over the years. And here was the thing, though, because I was watching the game. You saw it, but you didn't see it. You know what I mean? I mean, like, it's like, okay, why is he on the ground? It's like, it didn't look like anything different. It looked like it's just a normal play. And then you found out it wasn't so normal. It's weird with something like I remember when Johnny Knox got hurt. Okay, everyone saw that his back bent in a whole position. It does not naturally when he was pushed over backwards. Everyone saw that. It was easy to tell he had a big back injury. But with this leg injury, it wasn't, you didn't really. After the play, I was like, oh, he's down. Why? And
I think the worst leg injury I saw was Dak Prescott when he broke his ankle and he lifted his leg and his foot fell over. That was the worst I've ever seen on TV, man. I don't know.
The worst was Theismann. You can actually see the Theismann. You can actually see his bones.
Oh well, yeah. No, you're right about that. The Theismann hit was terrible. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, how are you going to say it's bad when the player that hit you stands up and immediately starts calling for the medical team?
I heard shit break.
I mean, that was just because even the way the announcers act, like, well, we don't know what's wrong with him. He took his gloves off, and then they come back. Oh, I mean,
how many times we watch him walk off the field and they got a torn ACL or a torn MCL? I mean, it's fucked.
Yeah, but those. Because if you've ever torn one, you can still walk on it. It just hurts, but you can walk. Which is
still,
it's it's like a torn ACL is one of those weird injuries. It's like, did I sprain something? Did I just ding it? No,
it's either going to be immense pain or you're not going to have any pain for like a day.
You just now realizing that, Eric?
Yeah. When I tore mine, I had no freaking idea. I was at worked the rest of my shift, went home, everything was fine. When I woke up in the morning, I could not put any pressure on that knee whatsoever.
Yeah, the ACLs are a little different like that. So now look to the game itself. The Cowboys, dude, they're cooked, man. They just have not. They haven't played well all year. I mean, even the games they won, they played. Just. Week 1 was Cleveland, and Cleveland couldn't get itself out of a paper bag. But really, I mean, people have come into their house and completely destroyed them. So is Mike McCarthy going to be done there in Dallas here? I mean, on Jerry Jones' birthday, nonetheless. I mean, Detroit came in, and they completely disrespected him. They're throwing Sewell in a wide receiver slot. Total disrespect, right?
Yeah, the only thing they didn't do last night said he's not firing McCarthy. He came out and said it.
Yeah, okay. I believe what he says in the media.
I'm just saying, bro. He came out and said, he goes, I'm not even thinking like that. He goes, that's not where our head's at right now. We're trying to fix the problem. He goes,
Yeah,
I think the problem's Dak,
head coach.
Or the head coach.
Too. But Dak had some terrible throws. I mean, dude, Detroit just straight out came out and clowned them in their house. Clowned them, disrespected them on and off the field. Because then Lions fans, being the classy fans they were disrespecting Cowboy fans. Like there's a viral video right now of she was sick. A Cowboy fan, she was literally sick, and Lions fans are making fun of her because she's sick. Well, I mean, come on, Lions fans, have a little more class in the division. They straight up clowned them on the field.
Yeah, we're gonna say after watching that might have been what made her sick.
Really, that was a play by them.
Yeah, horrible. I mean, but so they so obviously everyone is 4-2. Let's just boom. So Green Bay all of us manhandled our opponents this week.
Yep.
So JB, for the Wednesday night show, I got some receipts again for all these people, these Lions fans. Oh, there's no way the Bears can beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh my God, Jacksonville is so good in England. Yeah, they got destroyed. So I just come on, man. Look at let's just face it.
I was gonna say the Bears are definitely killers of these 1-win teams.
Yeah.
You play who you play.
Oh yeah.
We all
if you don't win the games you're supposed to win. And it's like if you don't win the games you're supposed to win, then you have no business. But here's the thing, though: they're not just beating the teams they're supposed to beat; they've destroyed the teams they're supposed to beat.
Mm-hmm.
So
good morning, guys.
Good morning, JB.
So I mean, it's one of those things where you play who you play. We got the bye week, and then what? I can't wait. I'm going to be at the game. That's part of why I can't wait. But the Commanders. I mean, that's going to be a good game. The Commanders are not on a bye, right? They play next week. They play the Panthers, so they'll be coming off a win.
They play the bye week.
What are we gonna say? They pretty much have a bye.
But you know what though? Carolina was in that game yesterday.
Yeah,
They were really in that game for the most part. I mean, their defense actually played pretty decent. They were in that game for the most part. It was funny though because they were talking about how they're going to show the young guy behind the vet. And he's going to make good decisions. Yeah. And as soon as they say that, he threw an interception, and it was a bad one. But I mean, they were in that game, so that's good. But look, the division's 4-2, best division in football by far. If you look at the offensive leader or the point differential board, guess who the top 4 teams are? Yeah, it's the NFC North.
Yeah, in order of the actual rankings of the division, too. It's Minnesota, Detroit, Bears, Packers, in order.
Yeah. If you look at the top defenses, well, 3 of the 4 are in the top 10. One's still working.
Hey, poor Hutch, man.
Yeah, well, we got good news about Hutch. There was no vein, no ligament, no tendon damage. So it's looking like it's just the broken leg, but it's still a 6 to 9 month recovery time.
Yeah, we mentioned that when we started off this morning.
Yep, he's done for the year. There is an outside possibility that if they activate him week 18, even though he's not healthy enough, and then move him to the pup, they could get him back for the Super Bowl if they made it there. That is the outside realm of possibility. But I doubt that we see that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it either. Actually, to be honest with you, coming off that's one of those injuries. Yeah, it's a pretty severe one.
Because that date is exactly 6 months from the day, is why they're saying.
Wow.
Yeah, hey Dub, I think there's a lot of people who were eating some crow on the Bo leave with Bo Nix yesterday. That game ended up not being so hot for them. Look, there were a couple games yesterday. I mean, the Giants game last night, the Giants defense, man, they were beastly keeping them in to that game. All over. The sack count was ridiculous. Their offense completely ineffective, couldn't move the ball. I mean, the fact, the score doesn't really show the story of that game because of the touchdown late, when the defense was finally just kind of gassed out. But I mean, New York, and legit defense.
Look at that one defensive end in the first quarter. He alone, and it wasn't Thibodeau and it wasn't Burns. He had 3 sacks by himself on Joe Burrow in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh.
No, I mean, there's some teams like look at Tampa Bay came out, won a gritty game. I mean, that was a fun game to watch too, by the way. Green Bay and NOLA was a fun game. Rattler's going to get at least 3 more starts for Carr, but that was a fun game, back and forth. At the end of the day, oh God, I watched the show. What's his little show name now? The legend that is Baker Mayfield's alter ego had to come out, but they won. That was a fun game. The Raiders go. Here's my question. I was waiting to ask you. Did you see the video of Max Crosby coming off the field?
Yeah. So, people love to create narratives and. So he pushed the coach, right, or an assistant, but
that's why I was asking you.
Yeah, well, the narrative is, oh, see how unhappy he is. He wants to leave, but they totally skipped over the fact that when he pushed that assistant, he was coming off the field after a sack. It wasn't like he was pissed off. He came off the field after a sack and he pushed him like they're playing around or whatever.
More of a celebratory push, not a I'm pissed at you.
Celebratory push than a get that fuck out of my face kind of push.
I tell you
although
what,
I would completely understand if he pushed somebody saying get the fuck out of my face too. The way they played yesterday, the defense played their best that they could. I mean they kept the Raiders in it for a long time, but you can't just keep going 3 and out and expect to stay in the game, dude.
Oh,
You know,
well,
the
Luke Getsy,
defense.
once again,
That's what I'm going to say is the defense gave us plenty of chances, man. Like plenty of chances, and
it,
offensively, we just can't do anything.
I'll
Our
make a
running
bold
game is
prediction right
terrible.
now. I'll make a bold prediction right now, Joe. Luke Getsy will be fired by the end of the season, or right when the season ends. I mean, that's the second team in a row he's gone to that's having the exact same freaking problem.
I don't think Getsy's going to get fired. To be honest with you, like I as much as I want to blame Getsy, like his play calling is questionable in certain areas of the game, in certain moments of the game, but he's scheming guys open. Like I was watching yesterday, and we had guys open down the field, and our quarterback just couldn't get the ball to him because he was either getting sacked.
But Joe, he'll be gone because
maybe
the second team, and this is the second team in a row where it's been the same ineffectual offense. You know what I'm saying? Like his offense was ineffectual in Chicago. It's been ineffectual in Las Vegas.
I just don't think that it's. I don't think that it's his fault, man. Like I watched the game closely yesterday, and he's not without blame. Let's look. He's not without blame.
They may give him one more season.
It was 1st and 20. I'll give you an example. It was 1st and 20, right? We came out. It was 1st and 10. We got a holding call, so it was 1st and 20. He runs the ball on right up the middle on 1st and 20. Now it's 2nd and 18. He runs the ball right up the middle on 2nd and 18, and then it's 3rd and 16, and he runs a screen.
Yep,
and then punt.
To me. That's what he does. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's the second team he's done this with. I mean, and look at like Joe. I can understand what you're saying though. On the other side of that coin, is maybe say, well, the personnel thing, give him one more year. But, dude, I mean, this is the same exact problem he had for 2 years in Chicago. Now he goes to Vegas, has the exact same problem. So if a head has to roll in Vegas, it's not going to be on the defensive side of the ball because they're producing. They're keeping you alive. So Getsy's going to be the odd man out again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if he gets fired. I just don't think he should. I think it's not really. I think there's more blame on the fact that we just lack. We're lacking. Like we can't run block. We can't even pass block that well, and we have a real lack of talent at the quarterback position, and that's going to get you every time. If the Raiders manage to get a top 5 or top 7 pick and they get a quarterback this year, I think Luke will get another year to see what he can do with a quarterback. But
I
also am not looking forward to changing schemes again.
Trash, Joe. Trash.
I mean, I went to Joe. I went to you first on the Max Crosby thing because obviously yesterday, I know Bears Twitter blew up. I'm sure Lions Twitter after the game yesterday blew up because I said, "Oh, Max is going to be available," and it's like, look, guys, and I'm like, when you look at the video without knowing, you can say, okay, maybe there's a hope and dream. And I said this to a Bears fan on Bears Twitter. I said it was right after Hutch's injury was announced and everything. And then, we can go try to trade for Max at the deadline. Then, oh my God, we're gonna be. I'm like, guys, look, stop. I'm like, first off, with Hutch going down, Detroit will give their left arm, their left leg, and both their nuts to get Max Crosby. At this point, they already love him. He's a hometown boy, who's expressed love for them. They will sell their souls for the eternity to get Max Crosby in Detroit if it's even a possibility. Well, so Bears fans, you can stop. But then that's why I went to you, Joe, because you said, no, man, it's not like that. And I kind of figured it'd be somewhere in between there. Like, I didn't think defensively they were yelling at the coaches. It was just one of those things, like you said. Max isn't leaving, so Lions fans, Bears fans, put your pipe dreams of getting Max Crosby at the trade deadline away. It's not going to happen.
I'm just trying to figure out why I saw Ken Catalone just before the watch party in Detroit there in Viking CWO gear.
Yeah. He wishes he had a beard as glorious as this.
Oh, it was tucked in his shirt.
Yeah. He can't have one yet. Hey, give Rob about a couple months and you can start growing one.
2 weeks.
You know how you'll know when Rob Yeah, see, in 2 weeks. Look,
2
Rob has
weeks.
2 more weeks. In 2 more weeks, Rob will stop shaving, and he'll go to this because that's what us military guys do when we retire. The razor no longer hits the face. That's just the law. It's
There was
unwritten law.
NFL history made yesterday. That 47-9 score, the Lions over Cowboys. That is the first time that
ever.
a game has ended with that score in NFL history.
Yep, in history.
Oh no shit.
Well, also
and think
Caleb
about how
Williams
many
became
games
the
have been
first-
played.
Well, I mean, there's a lot. There was other history too. Caleb Williams is the first number 1 pick overall to start his career 4-2. He was the first number 1 pick to have rush for 50 yards and throw for 4 touchdowns in a game as a rookie, a number 1 pick. I mean, like every year though, every year this NFL records that are broken, right? I mean, this year I don't think that the clip in which the records are falling is any different than most. So I'm not going to make too much out of it. But look, it means teams are on the right track. It means teams are on the right track.
They got ridiculous records now, dude.
There are
The
some
NFL
ridiculous
they make ridiculous records now. It's like, oh, Derrick Henry is the first running back to rush for 47 yards in under 38-degree weather when Saturn is in retrograde. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
No,
but I mean,
I'm
some of
talking
these,
about
I think-
a final score like
I mean,
that,
like what
considering
JB's
how many
talking about
games
is
have
just
been
kind of
played.
no, yeah, that's
right,
interesting, but
that's
Well,
a unique one.
No, you're
I mean,
missing
but, like,
you're missing the most obvious one. Caleb Williams is the first rookie quarterback to have 4 wins over 1-win teams whilst maintaining the spatial pocket awareness of a newborn horse with its eyes closed.
Yeah.
Did you see
There's
those
an
handoffs? I
5-0
think he
team.
threw a pass. He threw a pass directly into his own lineman's helmet for fuck's sake.
Yes, I saw that. Oh my god, I almost
That was
fucking
that
died.
was
without
yeah,
me.
he was off platform trying to sidearm it, and his lineman just happened to be right where his arm was. That was funny. But I mean, like some of
Dude's
these,
like
I think
8
some of
inches
these,
away from him.
some of the moving
Brent-
backwards, like was a statue. But I mean, I think like to Jeremy's point, like some of and some of Joe's point, like some of these like are just unique. Like that score just has never happened, and all the games have been played. The fact that score had never happened is kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. Some of these other ones, like with Caleb being the first rookie to be 4-2 as the number 1 pick, with and then be the first number 1 pick with X touchdowns and rushing yards in the games. Because honestly, they haven't really tracked that stuff as long. So I think some of these records that we're seeing is like we've only been tracking it for 20 years. Of course, the odds are better. Some of the records, are more long-standing. Those I think have a little more weight. How long have we been tracking first-round quarterbacks and their win-loss total? I mean, how far back are we going? Maybe 40, 50 years out of the 100? Okay, big deal. Like the scoring thing, how long has that been tracked? Some of these other ones are straight up AWS. Since we've been doing AWS, okay, that's what, 5 years? So, I mean, that's why I think we've been seeing a lot of records, quote-unquote records, that are being broken a lot is because, well, they're newer records. And it's good that records are being broken. The game is growing, right? It's expanding.
Of course, it's the most.
They're coming up with more creative areas to.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. What the
One,
fuck?
one thing that's not creative, it is the most Viking thing ever for the Vikings to be sitting here 5-0, undefeated, and still only have a 1-game fucking stretch in front of the other 3 teams in the fucking division.
Right.
Oh, game and a half. Or no, it's a game and a half.
Right.
This all goes back to what we said coming into this season. The
That's
NFC
true.
North is
That
the
is
best
true.
division in football. We're the only division where every team has a
I'll have
winning
to-
record. So we have to tout our own chest as a collective here on how good everybody looks. Now, granted, a couple of teams have only beat some really bad teams, but the fact they were able to do it and remain atop in the league in standings is a good thing.
Yeah.
None of us get to pick the schedule. You just got to beat who's in front of you, and that's it.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
And
you can't complain.
At
We're all
least
gonna.
the Raiders.
Don't we all play
the
like 80% of the same teams? I
But
mean,
there was an interesting question. Brent DeWitt asked if the Lions Vikings games will get flexed. It's impossible. They don't flex They don't flex games until week 14 or later.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
not.
and if they do, they have to decide. It's something like a 17-day window, and that thing is long since went. So there's no
Right. It would have had to have been flexed 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh well, I mean, people are already asking
For all
for
intents
the
and
Bears
purposes.
game. They're asking if flex the Bears Commanders game, and if this was later in the season, that game would definitely be flexed if the situation was similar at the end of the season, with the two hottest rookie quarterbacks. I mean, that's the other thing. This year for rookie quarterbacks has been insane because all of them are actually playing pretty well. So the Daniels, Caleb versus Daniels would definitely be a flex game if this were later in the season. But at this point in the season, they're not flexing that game. But if this was let's say it was it was week 14, and Caleb and Jaden were both sit on top of their division, doing well. Oh, for sure, this would be a flex game that we're going to have in week 8. But they're not going to flex it in week 8. Thank God, 'cause I have dinner plans after the game in DC. So
Commanders let me down. They lost yesterday. Their bitch made.
Hey, what about Arizona, dude? Arizona melted down offensively yesterday, dude.
Oh yeah, the amount of takeaways that we got from them was insane. And surprisingly, there wasn't an interception, but there was a shit ton of forced fumbles.
You bailed on your
So you're
keeper.
telling me the McKinney streak ending, but the Kirby stealth technology in the end zone still exists?
So
okay,
here's the thing.
there's a comment. Go ahead.
I was gonna say going back. I was looking for it when Jeremy said it, and then Rob, go ahead. But right now, if the playoffs were to start today, we did this last week. In the division, we still send 3 teams. The Packers are the odd man out. At this point, here are the teams that get in. And you're going to notice it's, Vikings, Bears, Lions, obviously. Then you get the Falcons, the Commanders, and the Niners who are leading their divisions. The other wild card team, as of today, is the Buccaneers at 4-2, and they only edge out the 4-2 Packers because in conference play, the Bucs are 4-1, the Packers are 2-2, and in division play, the Bucs are 1-1, and the Packers are 0-1. So right now, that's where the NFC North sits, comparatively speaking to everyone else who 3-2, 3-3, 3-3, 2-4 is the Cardinals in the 12th spot right now. So I mean, the North is dominating. Now here comes the thing though, where it's going to get interesting. The way they did the schedule this year is kind of unique if you think about it. I mean, for the Vikings, they're not feeling as much because they already had one division game and they're going to get another division game in week 10. But for the most part, all the division games in the league this year are in the back end of the season compacted. Like 6 of 8 for the Bears, 5 of 8 for the Packers, I think it is. 4 of 8 for the Vikings. Going in the back end of the season, this is where other teams are going to sneak up into playoff position, right? Because right now we're just beating everyone not in our conference or our division or in our division. We're not having to, so
the end of the year
can make it interesting.
End of the year is when we're going to start having to snipe each other off one way or another, and that's why this comment here, this Eric Hooks says, I still think Minnesota is a make-believe story, though. How, though? I'll give you Darnold because nobody's seen that coming, but we're getting Hawkinson back, and we've already went 5-0 with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones.
How long is Jones out for?
Jalen Naylor, all these other guys. That defense, you better believe that shit's real.
Well, we all knew the defense is real, but the thing you let off with, Rob, is the reason. The thing you let it because
Darnold.
It's always going to be Darnold.
It's going to be Darnold. Yeah, for sure. It's always the quarterback. It's always the quarterback.
How long is Jones out for?
He's not.
He's going
to play. He's going to play. It'll be definitely our toughest test of the year against Detroit. I mean, for sure. And I mean, I thought like Houston was going to be a tough test, and they're the ones we whooped their ass the hardest, and they're a 5-1 team. Green Bay was the next toughest test with the comeback that you mounted. You guys are 4-2. And now we've got a one loss Detroit Lions team. Yeah, you guys lost your best pass rusher. I don't know how much difference that's going to make in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I mean, I still feel like Minnesota has the capability of winning their home games and good possibility of losing, up there in Detroit yet. I mean, this is going to be interesting. I'm not going to say Minnesota's going to beat Detroit this week either, because Detroit's been lining them up and knocking them down pretty fucking hard too. So
yeah.
The thing, Rob, for you guys is this: is everything has worked. The dominoes have fallen the way you needed them to fall for Sam Darnold to succeed. Right? He's game managing. He hasn't really had to play from behind. He hasn't had to try to make something happen because they're down late in the game. He hasn't had that extra external pressure. For him, it's been relaxed. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not playing from behind. He's relaxed. He just has to follow the script, put the ball where they tell him to put it, and we got the skilled players who are there where they're supposed to be. So for him, it's been relaxed. The question is going to be when Darnold has to start playing from behind or has to go kind of off script, so to speak, and goes, oh, I need to make something happen. That's when the rails could fall off in Minnesota. And here's the thing. And let's say it happens against the Detroit Lions, right? Okay, it's one game. Big deal. But the question will be, can he recover, or does he get into his own head like he used to when he was in New York and in Carolina, where he thought he had to be the guy? If he can keep his mentality of, I don't have to be the guy, I just have to be a game manager and do what they tell me, and okay, so we had a bad game, then you guys will be fine. I think you guys will be fine. But if Darnold has to get in that mindset of, I have to create, I have to make things happen, I think that's when the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Okay. And then the follow up he had to say was, y'all still got to play Indianapolis, not worried. Seattle, really not worried. Rams, super not worried. Cardinals, could be a good game. Bears, divisional game. You never, don't count that out. And then he said, oh, this is going too fast. Lions, yes, always a problem. And then us, Packers, one more time. Divisional games are always going to be a problem. You never know what's going to happen. You guys didn't think Minnesota was going to waltz in there and walk out of Lambeau as a victor this year. It happened. Anything can happen in divisional games. So I'm not taking that out. But, if you can, I'm not trying to shit talk teams like Indianapolis and everything, but I'm pretty sure that the odds are in our favor.
Most of those guys you're going to smack the shit out of, just like the rest of us.
Right.
You're
I don't know.
smack the shit out of.
Is the Rams game at home or is that in LA?
I don't know. I think we have the Colts is in Minneapolis because I'm going to that one in person. Okay. I know that. And then Seattle, of course, I believe is going to be on the road like it always is. And the Rams, I don't remember. I'd have to look that up. In fact, let me look that up.
I mean, like, I wouldn't sleep past any of the NFC West teams because they're all capable of beating you. I mean, look at the Rams may be losing, but they're not getting blown out. They're in every game for the most part. Yeah. The Cardinals, yeah, they melted yesterday. Seattle, they've been up and down. They're like the Lions of the 80s. Which, are you getting the good sea chickens or the bad sea chickens? Which one's showing up that day?
The Rams are playing in Minnesota. The Rams are playing in Minnesota.
It'll be a good game. You guys should win that game. I mean, you're right. You should.
Depending on how healthy the Rams get at that time. If the Rams are fully healthy, that'll be a good team.
Or did I read that wrong? Casey's saying it's in LA. I believe he's probably got the schedule up. And my Google is sucking ass.
Puka's back in like a week or two. Yeah, LA's getting some players back too. They're getting healthy. So that game, it might be different than what you think it's going to be than what they were last week.
Nope. I'm sorry. It is in LA. It is in LA. My bad.
So Detroit West. Detroit West. We just call that NFC Northwest because our fans all show up to games in LA.
I do have a quick correction to make. According to NFL.com, it's the Bears that would miss out on the playoffs. Green Bay would have the 7th seed.
No, because
this is something interesting. this is something interesting because when you Google the standings, the first thing that pops up is, aggregate sources. They've got the Packers in last place. Now, you go on NFL.com, they do have the Packers in third and the Bears in last, but it doesn't make any sense because all the percentages are identical. And then you get over, and it literally does have your first tiebreaker category as divisional record, with the Packers having a worse record than the Bears divisionally, but they still have the Packers ahead of the Bears. And so I don't know who is figuring what on NFL.com. They're the only ones that have the Green Bay Packers
here's
in third
the
and the
thing.
Bears in fourth.
We're trying to figure this out in week 6. Right?
It doesn't matter.
But
I mean, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But it's more about the other point that it brings with it. All 4 teams are hold on. All 4 teams are percentage wise have a 67% chance of making the playoffs. That's the takeaway from that, right? Is we have 4 teams that have a 67 or 66 point whatever. They just round it up. 67% chance of making the playoffs historically. I mean, because when you go, if you're 3 and 4, the odds go down to like 27%, right? Goes down to like 27%. So we're sitting in a division right now where we have 4 teams that have a greater than 2/3 chance of getting into the playoffs. We're sitting in a division that in theory, the way it sits right now, could for the first time in NFL history send the entire division to the playoffs.
Now, let's pump the brakes 1 minute because I want all of you on your respective teams to address this, though, because no one in the NFC North except Minnesota has beaten a team that has a 500 or better record. And I'm looking at the stats. Detroit is 0-1 versus winning teams. Chicago is 0-1 versus winning teams. Green Bay is 0-2 versus winning teams.
We're 1-1 because Cowboys had a winning record before we played them.
Yeah, now they're 3-3.
Okay. Well, all right. At any rate, what's going to happen when the quality of competition increases for you guys?
Seahawks was undefeated when we played them, right? And Rams hadn't played anybody. So, you're taking it out of context. At the time, nobody was less than 500 when the Lions played them.
Well, that's also a good talking point for being this early in the season, yes. But you look at the grand scheme of things. Let's just take the next month. Let's just take this month here and everything.
Oh, but Rob,
looking
let's
at
think
things
this way: the Bears completely destroyed Jacksonville yesterday, who beat the Colts, who beat the Bears.
Which you should have.
I mean,
which you should.
That's where we're at in this season, right? A team that beat
they're probably the worst team. They're probably the worst team in the NFL.
By the team we just destroyed. So I mean, that's the weirdness of the NFL. Jacksonville destroyed the Colts. The Colts beat the Bears in a close game, but then the Bears came and destroyed the Jags. I mean, that's where we're at in this part of the season. The first 3 weeks are such a misnomer in as far as telling what teams are, because, like we all know, preseason is a joke. The week 1, week 2 especially, teams are still getting their footing, their identities. And like the Bears are a great example. If you think about it, look at the difference in how the play calling is, how the line play has been the last couple of weeks versus the first couple of weeks. Yeah, you could say, the strength of the team, but also it's the stuff that they're doing as they start to get their personality, they start to come together, they start to meld. I mean, so that's how the NFL works the first couple of weeks. So now we go into week 7, 8, 9. Now we're starting to see, week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're starting to see what these teams, who the good teams are, who the bad teams are. That's starting to come out. There's no more, no, at this point in the season, now we're a quarter of the way through. We've gotten past that, we didn't have a real, these guys don't play in a training camp, or as JB likes to say, we don't do 2-a-days anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that's where most of them come from.
Back to the comments. Eric says, "Hey, Viking Rob, remember I air grittied on Justin Jefferson. That was a high-quality movie scene." Eric, you're correct. I do remember that. I also remember that probably being the last high-quality movie scene we've seen out of Jair, and it was 2 years ago. So
no,
that's not the burn you think it is.
Okay. The record when you play them is the record that matters. Is it not, guys? Is that not what everybody has always said? The record when you play them is what matters.
People who actually care about that
them.
kind of stuff, JB, sure. The people who actually care about that at this point in the season, sure. I think that's more of a indicator once you get past like week 7, 8, 9. Right? I mean, week 2, oh my God, you played a team with a losing record. They were 0-1. You know, week 4,
right.
Oh my God, you played a team that was with a losing record. They were 1-2. Or, oh my God, they were a winning record. They were 2-1. That's not a big sample size. I think that when you get deeper in the season, like you're week 15, then it matters more.
My
because
thing is,
now it's the breadth of work.
But at the same time, my point is the teams don't decide who the fuck they play. The NFL decides it.
Yeah.
So you play week to week. It doesn't matter. Anyone can fucking win. The Jaguars have a fucking win.
Well, look at
the Bengals have got 2. I mean,
look at this way.
It's just as hard to
won over the 49ers.
It's just as hard to lose that many games as it is to win as many games. It's fucking.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, like watching the Bears game yesterday. Like last year, this is a game we probably lose because the Jags were a much better team last year at this point. The Bears weren't as good as a team at this point. You know, some of the teams that this year aren't doing so well coming into the season, like, oh, well, that's a playoff team. You know, oh, the Rams, they're a playoff team. A lot of people had the Rams winning the division, right? A lot of people had a lot of good teams doing things that they're not doing. You know, so to come now week 6 and say, oh, well, you guys beat this bad team. I mean, this playoff team from last year who everyone thought was going to be a playoff team again this year, but now obviously is not going to be one this year because they're 1-5. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the other thing. Like the memory span is about a nanosecond. Because when we look preseason, you look at the schedule and you look at the Bengals and say, oh, that's going to be a tough game. Now you look at the Bengals and go, oh, well, yeah, we should win. Right?
I think the story of Trevor Lawrence regressing. So obviously not working today, and I brought Hannah to an eye appointment this morning, listening to Dan Patrick on the radio before I got home. They're talking about the regression of Trevor Lawrence and how screwed they are right now, having paid him that money. He appears to be getting worse weekly. And, does Bill Belichick, does any reputable coach want to walk into that knowing that you're already hamstrung with like a $270-some million contract on a guy that might not be it? You're going to have to start all over. And then you got to figure out how to get rid of this guy and clear up cap space and everything if he's not going to be it. That's not a good situation in Jacksonville. And that's why I said earlier, I think they're the worst in the NFL right now.
It's not as bad as you think, though, Rob. It might just be the coaching is the reason why he is where he is right now. Why does the quarterback regress?
I got to agree with you there, Ken, because Doug Peterson, besides when he was with the freaking Eagles, has not done a good job coaching.
No, he hasn't.
But
I mean, so like Belichick go in there and turn Lawrence around.
Who called before the season happened when they signed Lawrence that he would regress? Who said it immediately?
I mean, look at how many times
Doug Peterson is antiquated.
Mm-hmm. And you look at some of the big contracts in the NFL that happen, right? We see it every year. A guy signs a big contract and all of a sudden doesn't perform up to what we think they will after the big contract. It happens every year at multiple positions. Quarterback is the most noticeable. But, I mean, are the Jags salvageable? That should be the bigger question. I think a lot of it's their coaching because, they've lost some good personnel, right? But they still have some players on that, guys who are fully capable. They have guys in that team. If they were to get traded to another team, all of a sudden people are like, wow, these guys are studs. Why? Like it's the Bears. It's the Bears of old. Like we get rid of Leno, he goes to Washington, becomes an All-Pro lineman. All of a sudden, we're like, well, why didn't you ever do that here? Coaching. That's why. They've got players. They just need coaching.
I gave up my dream of my $5 bet during that Jags-Bears game. Your whole defense is on the left side of the field. Tank Bigsby's on the 1-yard line with no one in front of him. Trevor Lawrence looks at him and goes, oh, no, let's throw in triple coverage.
So this one's good. He
mean-
says, Sony says, first of all, how are you guys all together laughing, Black and Blue division? Well, yeah, this is one of the few shows where you're going to find Viking, Lion, Packer, and Bear fans talking because we're friends and we like to do this shit.
And you know what? And it happens on my NFL roundtable talks too.
And it's not a war week. And it's not a war week as well.
Oh,
War
it
week's
is war
a
week.
little-
Oh,
It
it is.
is.
It's the war week. Right here.
Oh, it is a war week. That's right.
100%
It is.
war week. 100%
But it's
war week.
Monday. That's right. But well, no, it's
It is not
technically-
just a war week. It is the
It's not
battle
war-
for the top for the lead.
Yeah,
NFC
whoever
North.
wins is in first.
it's not
Whoever wins
right.
takes the
It's
division.
not. It's officially not war week till tomorrow because we're still in the current week of the NFL season.
Well, you're
So
right.
tomorrow
Okay,
starts
no-
war week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Monday Night
yeah.
Football, whatever.
I'm trying to give us
I
an
expect to
excuse
hear
to
you
not
guys
be
cussing each other out by Wednesday, all right? By
Yeah,
Wednesday,
yeah,
cussing
exactly.
each other out.
It's a victory Monday. That's how we can do it. But look, here's the other thing: with the North being what it is, and we are being North centric today, it's fine. But I think it's deservedly so, though, because, dude, the worst record in the division is 4-2. I mean, what you know?
Hey,
I mean,
Trevor-
our division is rocking
Roasty
right
Bear.
now.
How did Trevor throw for 4,000 last year when he was hurt from week 8 on?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Something's happened with-
I just seen that pop up. That doesn't make a lot of sense either.
Look, they went
That's a
5-7.
stat. That's a
They
stat.
lost 5 of their last 7,
That-
man.
that-
Let's
And
look
now-
that up.
And now,
Well, I'm gonna say
Yeah,
I'm
look
doing
that
it
up.
right
I don't
now.
know. I don't think Broski's ever really thrown bad stats at us, but
he calls them pretty T.
look at everyone's look at hey Rob, look at 3 of them are on their phone.
Yeah, no.
No,
Stuff.
He
he did get it.
Yeah, he did throw for 4,000 last year.
But what's his career?
Broski-
What's
Broski's
his
like,
career?
don't you
What is
test me.
his career completion
I
percentage?
mean, that's why you guys, they had to justify paying him. That's the reason why
Yeah.
they paid him. They based it on what he did. I mean, he's not doing well at the start, but it might be the talent around him. Look at all the second-rate players they picked up.
Why?
But the
Why?
one thing-
When you actually watch the game, what is going on though? And I'll give you the coaching. We talked about that earlier. You guys cannot deny he has
Yeah,
guys
no.
wide open, and he's missing them by 10
Yeah.
yards.
You know?
He is
63
just
and look-
not
And,
hitting
and,
them.
and to be honest,
Trash.
the Bears secondary yesterday, you want to talk about depleted, right? Brisker doesn't even fly. Gordon gets hurt. Stevenson didn't play. He was injured. He didn't play. You know, none of the starters were in. None of the
Travis
starters were in except for
Etienne,
Jalen
oh,
Johnson.
But you didn't need it. Your line was handling it. They were teeing off.
Oh,
on him
I
all
know, but,
day
I mean, but if there was ever an
Wait, it up.
opportunity for you to pick on our defensive backfield, that was it, right? Because like none of the
I'm
starters were
confused.
in for the most part.
They didn't get a chance to.
I'm confused by one thing here. It says he played 16 games last year, but at the same time, Jaguars fan says, well, Trevor Lawrence was hurt for half the season. That's why we didn't make the
Well,
playoff.
that's because
Yeah,
I
he
think.
did have an
Wait,
injury,
I
but he
can
played.
explain that to you. Hey, for those who live in Florida, will know exactly what this explanation means when I say it to JB.
Broski doesn't come with the
Duval.
BS. He does
All you
not
need to
come
know,
with the
JB. All you gotta know is why they say it's because of Duval. They live in Duval County. They're not the smartest people in the
Right.
world to begin with.
I love Broski. You a good Bear fan, Broski.
So I mean, yeah, this is not unique though. Is what's happening to Trevor Lawrence? We've seen this before. You know, in his case, it's coaching. It's like for Joe with the Raiders, man. Like, I almost wanted to. I don't like to laugh, but I almost wanted to laugh when he says, "I want to give Getsy a chance." I'm like, dude, why? For 3 years now in the NFL, his offense hasn't worked. It didn't matter which team he did it with. It's not working in Vegas. Like, he's not a good OC. He just needs to go back to being a quarterback coach.
So in 2023, so yes, 4,016 yards, but 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and passer rating of 88.5. That fell off from 2022 when he had 4,100 and some, 25, 8, and a 95.2.
Yeah, he's going backwards. He's definitely going backwards.
This year
For,
looks a lot
for
like
that
the
amount,
rookie
for
year.
that amount of yardage, you think he'd be closer to the 30s and whatever mid 30s on touchdown passes thrown, and that's why I'm saying he has been obviously connecting. on a lot of stuff in the field and everything. But when it comes to what I've seen over the past couple of weeks and everything with his accuracy, Ken, they could have made that a game if he would have hit half the fucking targets he was launching at.
Or threw it to a guy that wasn't covered.
When you look at Jacksonville though, like last year in the breakdown, what happened? They're great between the 20s, but the red zone efficiency sucked ass. Well, where's the problem usually if you have bad red zone efficiency? It's in the play calling and the coaching.
Broski. Yep.
Right? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't write Trevor Lawrence off given a better coaching staff. Trevor Lawrence could be one of those guys, even if he goes to another club with a better coach, right? Better coaching staff, better situation. All of a sudden, he'll be good again. I think, it's easy for us to point the quarterback and say, see, it's the quarterback, he sucks. And then we give everyone else a free pass. I'm not trying to give Trevor Lawrence a free pass by any stretch of the imagination. Like, you're right. If the guy's wide open, why don't you throw it to him? Why'd you go to the other guy? Right?
I just think they don't have a run game, and everybody just tees off on them. That's why there's no run game. They're just teeing off on Lawrence.
NTN left that game injured, right? I mean, their run game.
Well, he was injured. He was banged up going in. He hasn't done anything this year anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, he's been good in my fantasy league up until yesterday.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you there.
So that. Part of it's personnel, part of it's coaching, part of it's Trevor, and then part of the part that's Trevor is probably exacerbated by the coaching because now he gives up. He's like, whatever, I don't care anymore. This sucks, and gets a bad attitude. And we may not see it externally, but internally he's got a shitty attitude because he doesn't like what's going on there. Then that affects him on the field of play. Sam Darnold's a great example in the inverse. He's feeling great. He feels like they have a lot of faith in him. He's loving the coaching because he's having success. So he's playing well, right?
And he doesn't have a rookie quarterback breathing down his neck anymore either.
Yeah. So
we all forget,
that's the inverse.
Prior to that, as much as I hate to say it, in the preseason when they were both playing and vying for the starting job, Sam Darnold didn't look as good while J.J. McCarthy was playing well.
No, that's true.
And as soon as he went down for injury and it was announced that he would be the starter definitely, Sam Darnold played better.
It's all good, bro.
Broski handing out fist bumps this morning. So,
bro, he's a good dude, man. He's a good Bear fan, man.
It's interesting when we go to blame the players in some cases, because in some cases, there's culpability there, but we always seem to give the coaching staff the free pass when sometimes it's literally just the organization. And then you get the Baker Mayfield situation. Oh, Baker sucked. Well, yeah, when Cleveland cut out his legs from under him after he resurrected the franchise, that would hurt your psyche too. And it took him and then Tampa finally came back and said, "We believe in you. This is going to be your house." And they put everything behind him. And look at it's paying off. It's paying off. Baker's doing Baker things again and showing why he was the number one drafted quarterback when he came out. So it's not as black and white as we sometimes always make it. No, like Baker saved Cleveland.
So,
and
I have a key stat for you I want to give before I head out. Daniel Jones is now 1-14 in primetime, which means he's worse than Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, and any other primetime QB combined. Have a great day as I go to prepare my show.
Yeah, and you know what though, JB makes a great point. JB makes a great point though. I mean, if you watched Hard Knocks, they even questioned the future of Danny Dimes. I think they're have to go for a quarterback this year. I mean,
I'm surprised they haven't already.
Well, they were trying like crazy during the draft, but they couldn't get up in position to grab one of the guys. So they just and ran with weak neighbors.
Because the Commanders in New England said, "Screw you, we're not losing the guy we want."
They want. And look,
all right, guys. On that horrible take, I'm going to do my show.
All right,
have a good one.
Man.
I mean, when you think about it, though, like they didn't have Malik Neighbors yesterday, and that, I mean, you can see what an impact Gus Swayze. I love that. If you ever watched that on Prime, let me table that for a second. You saw the impact of not having Malik Neighbors in New York yesterday. He's that much of an impact to their offense. Now that Gus Swayze thing, if you don't know what he's talking about, go to Amazon if you have Prime. They have a new show where they have players, and he got in costume, and that was his alter ego as Gus Swayze, and he did a tour of the facility as a super fan, right? And it's hilarious. And at the end of the tour, he kind of reveals that, hey, it's me, Baker, and surprises not only the fans that he was on the tour with all day, but the staff giving the tour didn't even know it was him. And it's a new show on Amazon. I can't remember the exact name of the show. But yeah, Gus Swayze, man. I mean, and it's good. It's a really good show. I watched it Saturday, I want to say, this weekend. It's a good show. I think it's a weekly, and Baker did the first. It's hosted by Eli, which Eli is even funny. You know, he's done the whole, okay, I'm reading the cue card. Don't say roll the tape. Okay, roll the tape. You know, I mean, it's a good show from top to bottom.
So you know what I would like to see, and that's all I'm going to say about the Giants situation. If they decide that it's just done and Danny Dimes ain't the guy, which means they're going to be doing a lot of rebuilding, drafting the quarterback and everything. If available, I want the Vikings to snag up Dexter Lawrence as a freaking nose tackle because
you don't need him.
They're not going to.
Yeah, you guys are like, no, don't.
No, you don't need him, bro. That's all good, bro. You don't.
I don't think the Giants. I don't think the Giants are selling. I think the Giants are going to be a team that are going to be like, we're just a quarterback away. We're not going to sell off defensive pieces that we just spent a ton of money on. Our offensive pieces that we need to still improve, but we have nothing to sell. I think they're looking at like the Bears, they're looking at Minneapolis, they're looking at Detroit. We're not much different than they were a year out from where they are now.
Yeah,
it's just an issue of the quarterback for them, and they're not sellers. I think there are a couple teams who might sell. Jacksonville might sell, but they've got like 3 all-pro linemen and only need 2, so they could probably sell one.
Well,
the Raiders might sell some pieces.
I just want to know what the price tag would look like to be able to acquire Dexter Lawrence, arguably the best or one of the best defensive nose tackles in the fucking league. Because you're going to give up a lot to get that. And I don't even know if it's wise to do that. It's just, if the opportunity presented itself for any of your teams, would you? I mean, you don't need it, Ken, because you just spent a lot of money trading for Montez Sweat. But, if the opportunity presented itself, especially Packers going back to 4-3 now, would you guys give up picks and try to get him? Because I'm pretty sure I'd be okay with the Vikings giving some shit up to try to get Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's legit.
Especially with Wyatt being hurt. Granted, he shouldn't be out long, but damn, it'd be nice to have him in there.
I think the Bears would only make a move for an edge if it was a guy who was like clear-cut one of the best in the league at the point, because they like what we've got on the edge with the guy we picked up in Seattle before the season started and with Booker. I think if the Bears were to make any trade, it'd be on the offensive line. But the offensive line's playing better. I think they found their solution at center and right guard. The last 2 games have been really solid. So we'll see how
Broski says, tough game to call tonight. Who wins? Broski, I'm going to say that Buffalo's going to win just because I have Buffalo players, and I happen to be playing Ken the Bear fan in one of my fantasy leagues this year. So fuck you, Ken. Let's go Bills. And outside of that, I don't care.
And on that last terrible take, because I'm barely even paying attention to my fantasy team, thank you all for being here for Victory Monday. Tomorrow will be Trash Talk, Terrible Tuesday, whatever you want to call it. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for everyone for showing up and watching. Peace. And have a great day. Peace.
The Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more. Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and MM Eniacs. The nightly podcasts are Palace Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main